Hello everyone and welcome to this Magicka Warden PvP build for the Horns of the Reach patch. With this build we are utilizing ice abilities. I found a way to make them very effective with the use of roots, snares, in other words we have a lot of control over our enemies. Now I've been playing this build since a few weeks, mainly in battlegrounds, and I can say it's a very effective build in there and it's definitely a lot of fun to play. If you were looking for that ice mage, here it is, and let's start by going over to the gear. First of all we're running 5 Shacklebreaker. We run this set because it gives us a really good overall amount of stats, especially the max stamina, which makes us able to run Witch Mother without dropping our stamina too low. It's a really good overall set, it's a crafted set, really easy to access. Then next up we have Necropotence. This just scales so well on the Magicka Warden. I cannot imagine myself playing the Warden in any other way without this set. It just gives you a bigger shield, more damage, it's just great overall. And last we have one Undaunted. We are running a Magicka recovery in this build. I feel that recovery is way more important than stacking spell damage or even more max Magicka. I feel we need this recovery. We're running 5 heavy, as you can see. We have heavy here. We have a light belt. This is the lowest resistance piece, followed up by the medium gloves. We are running all impen. I don't have an impen shoulder. You should get impen here too. Maybe sturdy might not be so bad. If you get sturdy it's also really good. But we want to focus on impen there. Running full max Magicka and chance on it. That's how it is for the gear. For the jewelry, we are running 2 recovery and 1 reduced cost. Again, full sustain. The damage is totally fine. Sustain is what really makes this build, because when you're out of Magicka, I felt when I was out of Magicka, that's when I was going to die most of the time. If you can keep your abilities going and keep your shielded up and healed up, that's when you're going to be fine. We're also running ice stuff. I'm going to explain later why we don't run lightning or fire. We're running an ice stuff. And then a rest of stuff, preferably defending. The ice stuff is sharpened. This is still on the live surface, so this will halve next patch. Charged might also become really good, and I'm gonna explain you totally why. It's gonna be really good. As you can see as well, we run a Drain Magicka Poison, this just for extra sustain. It really helps out, we really need it. As I said, sustain is really key on a Magicka Warden. I think that was it for the gear. Let's go over to the stats. Now first off, as I said, Witch Mother Food. We are running the Etronach Munderstone, just to get even more sustain. We are Vampire, more sustain. We get Undead passive, it's really good to have. Then our stats, these are our unbuffed stats. So we have 2.4k Magicka recovery. I felt this was sometimes still even too low. Now next patch, the Etronach is gonna get buffed. So we will get some extra here, it's gonna be really nice. Our max Magicka, 46k already, and that is without our pet, which activates Necropotence. As you can see on the main bar, we go to 51k. Now you can go even higher than that, but we need the recovery, so 51k is where it stops for us. The spell damage, just 1.8k, might seem low. It's enough. It's more than enough. Now that we checked our stats, I'm gonna tell you why I run an ice staff. So the ice staff is for rooting, and I'm gonna tell you why. There is 3 status effects. Let me show you from the destruction stuff. As you can see, there is burning, concussion, and chilled. Now burning and concussion is not important for us, but chilled is. Chilled is a small dot which makes people immobilized, let's say, or they get like targeted. And why do we target them? I'm going to show you in a second. So we get 100% here, and we get another 200% from Winter's Embrace. As you can see, we have a 200 more percent of applying that. So we have a 300% chance to apply chilled on enemies, and this is going to be really important. We are running 2 ice abilities, Winter's Revenge, Arctic Blast. This is a free skill slot. I'm gonna talk about it when I talk about abilities. But these are 2 abilities together with the Northern Storm, which is the ultimate, to have 300% chance of applying this. And why do we apply this? Because in the last line, as you can see, chilled enemies become frozen and are immobilized for 4 seconds. That's what we want to reach. You are a really ground-based AoE mage that just holds his ground, put his ground dots down, root people, and have so much control in fights. And this is why we run the ice stuff, because we need this walls for this build. Now there is another extra thing that really helps out this build. Let me go to destruction stuff again. If you can see this passive, it says Frost Stuff reduces the cost of blocking by 30% and increase the amount of damage you block by 20%. A lot of people think, oh, but that's gonna wreck your Magicka, right? We get this mitigation and we get a reduced cost of blocking, but it does not cost you Magicka if you do not put points in Tri-Focus. Look at the last passive here. While a Froststaff is equipped, blocking costs Magicka instead of stamina. If you don't put points in here, it will still cost stamina. You get the reduced block cost as well. It's just really working. It's just perfect, man. It's really nice. I think we covered that here now, so let's go over our skills. On the first bar, our destro bar, we are running the Screaming Cliff Racer. This ability is from the Animal Companions. It's our only single target. It is undodgeable. It has a really far range. It's like, yeah, so it's a ranged ability. It deals even more damage against longer range targets. Buffed up, you can see the tooltip is really high. And as I said, we are running recovery build, guys. So 10.5k. This is the same tooltip as my surprise attack on my Nightblade. It's really good, this single target, and for me it's more than enough to cast. Then we have Inner Light. Why do I have Inner Light? 7% max Magicka is really valuable, but also the crit. There is another ability that does crit, which is the Lotus Flower. One of these morphs also gives you spell crit, but it is a buff you have to keep up. One thing I found on the Magicka Warden that was annoying me is that I had so much buff to keep up, so I wanted to limit myself. And instead of getting the spell crit buff here, we get it from Inner Light on our main bar. Next off, Harness Magicka. This is our main shield on the main bar. We do not use Dampen Magic. Dampen Magic scales of light armor. We only run one piece, so it would be useless to run Dampen. We run Harness, gives us a shield, gives us our Magicka back. It works really nice. Then we have Deep Fissure. This ability is so strong. While we have our ice dots down, when we have them all down, you will cast a Deep Fissure. The first person in front of you will get stunned. Everyone in the area in front of you will get damaged by this. It's so much AoE damage. You just pop a Deep Fissure, wait for 3 seconds by maybe reapplying ice abilities, maybe do a Cliff Racer, and that's how you pressure your enemies. So you always want to keep this up and keep them under control while damaging with this. Then walls, as I said, we want this to root them, immobilize them with our other ice abilities. I'm going to show you in a second. This dot is quite strong as well. That's our main bar. I don't think that any skill could be changed here. I guess if you don't want to play kind of AoE, you could run Crushing Shock here and you can Deep Fissure Cliff Racer because it's a little bit delayed, and a Crushing Shock and time it. You could run the Ice, the Frost Reach if you want, for more control against a single enemy. For me, the Ice Wall is so effective that I cannot drop this. I need this on this bar. Then we have the Northern Storm. This ability, this ultimate is so underrated. There is another morph, Permafrost, which CCs people after 3 ticks. We don't use this ultimate that often, only when we really have it up under pressure. We have Rest Ult on the back bar. So I find that the 8% max Magicka is more useful to me than having that CC. This ultimate together with all your dots on the ground with the Deep Fissure is so much AoE damage. It literally destroys groups in battlegrounds. Maybe not by yourself, it's a support class. If you play together, let's say in a 4 vs 4 in battlegrounds, you're gonna deal a fuck ton of damage to them if you have this ultimate up. So let's go over to our back bar. On our back bar we have Healing Ward. Now this is, again, this healing is so underrated. It heals your allies for so much, keeps them shielded, works in enemies, for allies in mist form. It shields yourself as well. When you are low HP, this becomes really strong shield. Together with Harness, you can really tank a lot of people with it. Then we have Ice Fortress. This is just our main defensive ability. Gives us minor protection, makes our shield 8% stronger as well. It also gives it to allies. So let's say you play with a Sork, he doesn't have to run Boundless. Maybe a DK doesn't have to run Volatile. That's just how it is. As I just said, this is a support class and this one really helps. Now this is the free slot, so we're gonna call over this for a second. We have Winter's Revenge. This is a targeted AoE. As you can see, I can put it down from range. Why am I telling you that? Let's say there is a Nightblade around and you can decloak him from a distance with this ability. It's so good to use. You just put it down, walls over it, Deep Fissure, and whoever is in there gets CC, takes all the dots. It's really strong. And then I would say the most useful ability in this build is the Blue Betty. This ability is good for so much things. First off, it gives you Magicka back while it costs nothing, so it's completely sustained. Gives you Major Sorcery as well. It removes a negative effect, and it procs our gear Necropotence. What does this ability do as well? there is a passive here, Bound with Nature. As you can see, with my mouse here on the right side, it's going to heal me when I recast it all the time, you see? It means that this passive, when one of your animal companions is killed or unsummoned, you restore health. This also works with the Cliff Racer, so sometimes when you have a lot of dots on you and they're not pressuring you, you can spam this a few times in a row, get rid of the dots, get some heal, and with the Cliff Racer you also get some nice heals. It's a really nice ability. And then last we have the Restore Ultimate. Major protection, critical damage. It's really good in battlegrounds. It can save your allies big time. Nice damage boost. Is overall the best healing ulti. I will take this over the trees. And the pure reason for that is major protection. Only that. Major protection is so much damage mitigation. While it's also an offensive ultimate. That's why we run this. So let's go over our flex slot. I have Arctic Blast. This is a dot. Not so big. And it's only every 2 seconds. But it's another chance to root. You can run one of these mobs. As you can see, it's a heal debuff. You could run that too in that slot. You can run the vines here. It will give you a heal and a heal to your allies. You can run the dot. You can run speed buff with extra damage. Use what you want here. Use what feels free for you. In open world, I would say Mistform is a really good slot on this one. I say keep this up. Do what you want here. I have Arctic Wind or Arctic Blast. Together the roots and the snares. One more thing, yeah, these dots cannot be purged. This is on you, on the ground, and on the ground. So a Magicka Templar is not accounted to you. They cannot purge anything. I think that covers the skills here. Then we have to go over our champion points. So for the champion points, as always, left green tree, that's where we start. We have 23 in Warlord, get a 10% break free. We have 49 in Arcanist, 7 in Mooncalf, 37 in Tenacity. Now why here? We're running heavy, which gives us more resources back on our heavy attack. We have this passive, but also the resto gets 30% more. If you resto heavy attack, it almost gives you 5k back with these passives and all combined. 5k Magicka, that's a lot, man, so that's why we have 37 points in here. Then we have 48 in Beeful. Now, if you don't run the heal debuff, I suggest putting them in maybe Shadow Ward so you can block more. Maybe a little bit more in recovery. But I quite often in open world use the pollen, so that's why I have 48 points in here. 23 in tumbling for some roll dodge cost. And then we have 10% reduce the cost of block. That was the green tea. Let's go over to the blue one. In the blue one we have 26 in erosion. 10% extra frost, shock, magic and flame damage. 16% extra elfborn. 73 in mastered arms. Like this buffs all our abilities, so we want to max it out. We have 23% in here. And last 12% for our dots, because we are running a lot of damage over time effects. For the red tree, 21 in resistance, get some extra critical resistance in there. Master at Arms, counter passive Ironclad, 18%. We get 1k extra resistance. This is like 1.5 to 2% extra damage mitigation. Which we also get here, another 9% for both of them, 37 points. We have 3 points in here. This is like the last points that are dumped in this one. Then we have 44 in Bastion to boost our shield up. Really important to keep this one going for your healing ward and harness Magicka. Yeah, that was the CP. So yeah guys, that sums up the build video here. This build, as I said, is amazing in battlegrounds. It's really good in small group PvP. With all the roots, the heal debuff you can do, the Northern Star major protection AoE buff. It's so strong together. You can really see that this is a support class. I don't think you will have success 1vx in Cyrodiil because you don't have too much damage to kill people off too quick. Maybe if you find a group of not so good players, you might be able to AoE them down on your terms. Yeah guys, I want to thank you all for watching. If you want to see how this build has been played, you can check out my Twitch. There have been a lot of past broadcasts. Check them out. You can see how it goes in Battlegrounds. Once again guys, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Until the next one.